I really do want to do this with more regularity, but I have a life. Let's talk about tariffs. All right, the situation is getting kind of absurd, and the problem is the people that are putting out all the talking points, they understand the economics. They understand that tariffs are a good thing, and if done properly, are a very good thing. But they also know that the average Democrat voter hasn't been trained enough in economics to understand the benefits of tariffs. They have so whittled it down to the very basic one step of reasoning that add tariff, high prices or higher prices. That's really what they're pitching. They're saying that if you add a 20% tariff, that means consumers are going to pay 20% more. Unfortunately, that's not really how it works. And yes, it is 100% the fact that the importer, the person actually sending the goods across the border, and this is any border, a lot of countries use tariffs, they actually do pay the tax. However, what I find most curious about this is if you're talking to, a leftist about this, there's a few things you can point out that are going to make sense to them, but are really going to make them think about this situation a little bit differently. Number one, by complaining that it's just going to cause consumer prices to rise, they are basically admitting that adding a tax is passed on to the consumer, something that they have been trying to blame on greedy businesses for a long time. These are the same people that are shocked when a rise in the minimum wage means higher menu prices at fast food restaurants. So yes, there you go. They're admitting that the higher tax, the higher cost, is passed on to the consumer. They're the ones that are advocating for this, so you can go ahead and point that out. And aside from the fact that tariffs were the original funding source for the Union government, the Founding Fathers, they knew that they needed to promote domestic production. They needed to promote industry building inside the country, and one of the easiest ways to do that was, tariffs, making it easier, long-term, more beneficial to, build domestically, made in America, versus importing from somewhere else. And that's good for any country. Even philosophically, you can say that a country should be able to sustain itself solely on what it can produce internally, and tariffs are just a tool to make sure that happens. And if done properly, then that is the outcome. There is going to be a lot of, let's call them luxury outliers, things that would not necessarily be produced in a country, but maybe don't have to be produced in a country. Let's take something very obvious like watches. Okay, the Swiss make very, very good watches, and if you want to import a Swiss watch and pay the 20% tariff, you can absolutely 100% do that. No one's stopping you, right? You don't have a right to a watch, but producing perfectly serviceable watches domestically, definitely possible. But if you really want that Rolex and you're going to pay the tariff, then, actually, another thing you could point out to them is that's a tax on the rich. Yeah, the rich person wants to import that Rolex and wants to import that actual German-made Mercedes-Benz or some other, luxury item. They pay the tax that is a tax on the rich. Yeah, you see how that works? Also, you can remind them that a tariff on certain other countries means we are going to make junk consumerism, let's put it that way, more expensive. Landfills and everything like that, they seem to be complaining about all the time. Maybe we do not need all of those cheap junk products from China, and making them just a little bit more expensive will cut down on the rampant consumerism that they also seem to complain about all the time. So, yeah, I think they would be for tariffs. The only reason they are against them is because the president, Donald Trump, of course, is for them. All right, I assume you have subscribed, so you will see me in the next one.